When I think of the word environment, what comes to mind is my job in the Air Force and how big of an impact the environment has on the completion of our mission. As a radio frequency transmission system troop, we maintain, troubleshoot, and even install and deploy a wide array of satellite communications equipment and radio equipment. The environment has many pros and cons towards the establishment of communications between two sites. I'm going to share with you several ways the environment plays a part in our job. A little radio theory lesson. There are 5 different frequency bands that are used in radios. They're high frequency, very high frequency, ultra high frequency, super high frequency, and extremely high frequency. Each radio is designed to operate at one of these bands, and each band has its ups and downs when it comes to the environment. Let's start with high frequency. This frequency range is used to transmit long distances without the use of satellites. This frequency range has just the right wavelength that's actually able to bounce off the atmosphere and back down to Earth. High frequency is often used in mountainous terrains where line of sight between the two sites is not achievable. This was widely used prior to the invention of satellites due to the fact that you're able to transmit long distances such as over oceans. Once the satellite was developed, however, it made radio transmissions to all over the world even more possible with greater ease. Now you just have to worry about connecting with the satellite on your end without all the troubles of pinpointing the location of the other user on the other end of the world. This is where super high frequency and ultra high frequency come into play. These two frequencies are used because it is proven that these two wavelengths are so small they have the ability to blast through all the layers of the atmosphere without being refracted back down to Earth. This is what makes satellite communication possible. However, there is a negative when it comes into trying to pass radio waves through the atmosphere. One of these is called scintillation. This occurs from weather and parts of the atmosphere. This is when particles of the atmosphere and severe weather basically attack the radio signal and distort it so much that the signal breaks down and is unable to pass through the atmosphere. Another way the environment has effects on radio communication is actually from the sun. You might have heard on the news at one time or another that sunspots may affect communication, such as your cell phone calls. Sunspots is a natural phenomenon that occurs every 11 years. What happens is a large amount of radiation is being produced from the sun and traveling towards Earth. This then causes the ionosphere, a layer in the atmosphere, to become ionized. This is the layer that allows frequencies to be refracted and bounce back down to Earth. With sunspots causing the ionosphere to become ionized, this means that higher frequencies that were able to pass through this layer are now being bounced back towards Earth. This has a large effect on satellite communications, since now the radio signals cannot get to the satellite. It also has an effect on high frequency radio signals due to the fact that they'll bounce back at a different angle than intended, therefore never reaching the distant site. This natural phenomenon is actually tracked by NASA, so they're able to predict when the occurrences will happen and are able to warn us. Another major impact the environment has is caused by interference of the radio. This can be natural or man-made. There's one type of interference called spurious responses. This is when the radio will pick up other signals and can sometimes overpower the message intended for the user. This is bothersome due to the fact that it's technically being jammed and the user cannot receive the messages they need. Another big one is power lines. Power lines create noise due to the electricity running through them. The power lines act as an antenna and transmit this noise. This transmission can increase with things like precipitation. The radio can then pick these noises up and will be heard by the user. So, as you can see, the environment plays a huge role in radio communications and the success of my job. There are positive factors that work to our advantage, as well as negatives that tend to be a big pain trying to overcome due to the lack of control we have. There's very little we can do when it comes to the environment, however, we push through it and get the job done.